Okay, I'm going to speak on that law protecting the children, immigrants. Again, I don't think there's judges that want them totally unprotected. Now, what does that mean? Because of the current climate, again, this is where that not creating friction and being a little more understanding of things comes in. The judges aren't going to want to lift that protection because you're going to deport every kid you can. So again, the climate isn't one that says, hey, if you want any protection for these kids, you're going to have to cooperate, and well, essentially the Democrats would want it. The Republican senators would want it, and congressmen probably. Well, some protection for them. Right. But don't worry, that kicks in until the amnesty is decided. Right. What's happening now, they don't even have to go to the amnesty. Right. So while Trump's trying to deport them with an agreement with Guatemala, they're saying, well, we get an opportunity for amnesty. Right. Or something like that. Well, if they're absolutely protected, then the law is too broad. Right. Again, it allows gaming of the system. So when you're explaining it to the court, you have to speak about the gaming of the system. And what you're looking to do is deter gaming. Because you want to restore the adjudicated system of work visa, all that stuff. Right. Well, you'll have to articulate to the judge what your program is going to be. The judge may say it's too broad, but refrain from destroying the law and then set parameters. But you have to convince the judge that you're ready to do that also and abide by them. You would have to agree to protection for certain children. But, again, the judge may side with your argument that allows gaming, and you have the authority to restrict it so it's not gamed. Right. That's a little different than the budget thing, because the budget thing's already allocated. Just like when you take office, which you are now, you're budgeting a certain way. Senate and the House approve it, you sign it, nobody can mess with it. Unless there's something, obviously illegal. And again, that it has been found. And again, but you have an executive branch process for that. It requires a process. I agree. Any FBI agent or any agent that sets a victim up in church by creating a psychologically hostile environment should be instantly fired or their clearance yanked. So I don't know if she did that, but that's 100%. They're going to hell, man. They're going to hell. Right. I agree there. So I'm going to speak on this other thing real quick. Feel. I don't know him, so I got to tell you that. I don't know anything about him. We all fucking have your Christ will either be Trump or Elon. So he's coming in from left field. But he might be Trump and Elon. You know what I mean? No, I'm kidding. But I don't know him. However, it's kind of weird because you went from multimillionaire and billionaire Christians, which really don't fit Christianity. Well, because if you're a Christian, yeah, Jesus told that man to give everything away. Why? Because he had too much. Does Jesus require everybody to give everything away? No. But when you got over a certain amount, you obviously got issues as far as a Christian. Right. And of course, it's Judaism, and it's a little bit different. But yet, Yeshua ben David is still the same person. Well, I'm sure Emperor Constantine is just like Peter Thiel. Right. Well, it doesn't make them Christians. Right. That be Yeshua ben David's real sect of Judaism. So the weird part is that they're going to tell us not to covet other people's stuff. And don't look around for the Antichrist. Why? Because the Antichrist is you. Well, if you go to that thing, you risk somebody operating you. Really, you do. Now, I don't know if Peter Thiel's part of it or not. Right. You might get rich in the end, but you'll have to be a devil to get there. It's like me going into the government. It's the worst thing I ever did. 100%. I would have had a normal life. Probably been a preacher or a rabbi. It would have popped through at some point. Right. Right. They kept me asleep additional years and then never let me free. But again, the religions are also responsible. Well, back then I could have gotten to a religious society fast enough to have cover. Well, they're going to come in and it's the same scam. So I'm not sure if Peter Thiel is going to do it or not. Right. But don't look around. A billionaire telling me not to covet other people's stuff and not to look around for the Antichrist. It's kind of like, lo, Jesus is here, lo, Jesus is not there. Right. Well, the Antichrist is here, but not there. Right. Now, I'm not telling you the Antichrist is going to be a billionaire. Right. But could be. Well, because Don Jr. doesn't have $1 billion yet, right? He's still a millionaire. We all know we all know Trump's perdition, and his son Don Jr. is son of perdition. Don Jr. He looks like somebody who just wants a normal life. I mean, he wants to be who he is, but he wants a certain level of his normalcy. It doesn't mean it's everybody else's normalcy. Being the Antichrist would require him to ascend beyond where normalcy exists. Right. Right. Now he had I don't say he has a private side, but he has that side of him where he's like, hey, okay. He just steps off and says that's enough. Right. That's why he's in like a private endeavor. I mean, he's making money. He's doing the Trump thing, but maybe later. But I don't know if he'll do it. Don't make any sense. It doesn't make. If you're wealthy, it doesn't. Just be honest about things and live the best life you can. I mean, I don't get it. Right. Like a lot of people are on my plan right now that left the government because I tell them retire as soon as you can. There's nothing else out there. Now, if you're in the deep state, you're not going to retire because you're paranoid about the crimes you all committed. Right. No, I mean, this idea of staying. I mean, I like doing the work, but, if they hadn't screwed it up, I could still just be quietly contacting agencies and departments like I used to do. Even in the Marshal Service, I did that. Right. Well, because I just don't do that kind of thing. I don't boast about myself. Like Tom Law said, yeah, I was in special forces. And I said, yeah, I went to a couple schools. I just don't do that. I just leave it where it is. Now, I had to at a certain point because they were running me into the ground. They even, after I said it, they tried to say it was stolen valor and all that. I guess that's what they call it. But I'm not even, I'm not even into the stolen valor thing because some of these people that are these, like, are being crushed by Satan for being stolen valor. Believe me, it's Satan. Some of, well, because they're real inside. Like they actually were with you in war. How do you think I know all the Vietnam veteran stuff? Because I was with them in war inside. As soon as I hit the planet in '64, I was like an adult inside. Right. But I had already been there, but I wasn't on the planet in people's minds as those angels. And they also passed it. What everybody believes is they passed it on to me. I was one of the people that they trusted. Right. 100%. Well, like Jeff Coate was a Vietnam veteran, Hamburger Hill, I think, or something. Yeah, Jeff Coate. I mean, I didn't know what was going on, but they saw me. Now they don't. They know not to just, hey, private. Jeff Coate. I remember Jeff Coate was a down to earth kind of guy. We were sitting there drinking wine, like wine or beer or whatever, at the amphitheater that we had finished construction on the seats and stuff, and we were all sitting down there, a little section where the engineers were, and we're watching movies. It was a beautiful place to watch a movie. One of the beautifulest places in the world to watch a movie. You're just looking at the Gulf of Aqaba behind it, blue water. Yeah, there's a fence there, but so you're in this amphitheater and there's a big screen and you're watching a movie, but behind it, it's just the moonlit water of the Gulf of Aqaba. But I remember Jeff Coate came down, had like a Budweiser in his hand, and he's just standing there right next to us, just mixing, and mingling. So he was pretty cool. That's why Satan killed him. Sergeant Major was a great person. Right. I would have to say that I guess the tanker guy was pretty cool too. I was going to say the infantry. Some of the infantry people were pretty cool, but I guess it's just case by case basis, and we just happen to be around good people. Right. Again, he's a Vietnam veteran. These are both Vietnam veterans. So they were both Vietnam veterans. Right. Then my first sergeant major at Fort Campbell was a Vietnam veteran. My platoon sergeant was weird because I believe he's a Vietnam veteran, but he never wore the patch. It said his bio said he was not that he wrote, the other people wrote. He was a Vietnam veteran. But he never wore a combat patch. Maybe he was just too screwed up from it. I don't know. I checked it out too. I think I tried to cross-reference it because I wasn't sure. I don't know. Like I said, I started with I don't know Peter Thiel from anybody, but again, Christianity is getting really weird. Right. Not that it wasn't weird. And he might be trying to protect the billionaires by saying, "Hey, we're not the Antichrist." Right. But again, that's a matter of opinion, right? Just based upon the fact of what happened to my life, would say that a bunch of people with money are, and it's not the Antichrist. Again, see, this is where he's being revealed as not being knowledgeable. There is not the Antichrist. It doesn't exist. As there is one, there are many Antichrists. That's the scripture. So what you're talking about is the son of perdition, which is the anti to the Son of God. Right. I mean, everybody makes that mistake because the church embraces this term Antichrist, but there are many Antichrists, like what do they call it, the Fortune 500 or whatever, or the 500 richest men in the world. Again, I don't know them either. Maybe Yeshua doesn't know it. But there's definitely probably a movement out there to say that all the billionaires are antichrist. Right. I mean, I don't know who else they would select based upon what we see happen. Well, the sin is a scam. There's nobody that sins less than anybody else, and nobody that sins more than anyone else. Right. Well, what there is that thing that we wrestle against. It's called scandalon, and it's metaphysical, and that is the beast. The beast is, I believe, is metaphysical, but it's made up of antichrists and then led by the son of perdition. Now, Mr. Beast should have chosen a different name. Whoops. It's not easy for, he's going to obviously probably be a billionaire one day, right? And it's probably not the best name to have as a billionaire. Thank you much. I believe the billionaires are evil. Could I think Mr. Thiel is not evil? There's none good, no, not one. But again, it's just a strange thing. I mean, in Hare Krishnas, the renunciate guru teachers are all wealthy. The rich Indians give them money. I don't know how wealthy. I don't think they're billionaires. Right. Okay, there would be a way for you to have that kind of money, but you would have to. I mean, it's not what's going on. I mean, you don't have the world around you structured in a way that would say the money is not a consideration of evil. Right. But again, people don't care. You indoctrinated everybody to be in the deep state, and I go to church, they F me off and laugh about it. That's fine. But again, they're not going to go to heaven. And some of them are the Antichrist. And I can look at them and say, what the hell's going on? Right. I told you years ago, just let me live my life. Just ignore me. I don't have to say anything. Satan will speak into their heads. If you call it God, then you just revealed yourself. 100%. So I had to cut off the lock pin on the trailer hitch. I can't find my second set of keys. It might have been on there, but it might not have. Somewhere along the way, I lost the second set of keys. They could be in the car and be out of could be out of electricity. I have to empty the car out completely and look in every crevice and corner of the van. I use it like a pickup truck. So again, there's a lot of stuff in there. But I'm about to do that anyway. Now I have to get everything out of the majority of stuff out of my house. Anything that I'm not reserving for the last couple of days. Right. And then it'll be easier to clean the house and everything. I have to start taking down the curtains in about a week. I still have the blinds. Oh, if you're investigating, I don't know what's up with the mayonnaise, and this is something they do to screw people's heads sometimes. But for some reason, Walmart removed the vegan mayonnaise. The other vegan mayonnaise that's available is a lot less secure. It just has like a cellophane wrap, tight cellophane. If it breaks, then you know it's been compromised. But again, that's very easy for a billionaire or a multimillionaire to replace. The Hellmann's is what's missing. The Hellmann's vegan mayonnaise is definitely gone. And that's a great safety seal. No, a lot of these seals are. I mean, even a lot of the stuff we buy, you know, multi-millionaire just go, you know, lay down some money, even get the packaging itself, right? Because nothing's inherently illegal. It's only what they say is illegal, right? Mm. And I'm trying to look to see if they've ruled my life to the point where I can't get up unless I look at pornography. It's kind of a mechanical thing, right? Make it worse. I've noticed before, but again, when I use that time to investigate the algorithms and report anything that looks like it's illegal pornography. But not like before I search those terms and I'm like, they use that fucking shit against me. They got me to investigate it before. So I mean, I should be allowed to if I'm doing that, but I guess, right. But again, they're corrupt, so. Oh, if they hadn't done this to me, I'd probably be missing exploited children like a volunteer or something, right? Thanks. Thank you, sir. It's difficult, especially with what they did to me. They would tell me fake ages on people and confuse the hell out of me. It's one of their scams, psychological operations, so you can't tell how old somebody is, right? Thank you. And you can't anyway. Yeah, that's the part about Epstein that, like, I'm like, any of the young girl photos I saw, they look to be 18. And I'm not condoning what he did, but I'm like, you can find 18-year-olds that look 14. But you went after the 14-year-olds that look 18. What are you, nuts? And I'm not condoning it. It's just, it makes no sense. Because I actually said it makes no sense right from the beginning. This should be a protected man, and he does that. That's an unprotected act. Right. Oh, it's lapse of the mind. I mean, if you really know what's going on, you detach from what the world says. And again, the world has a law system. I agree to that. I help with it. But you detach personal opinion from it because all you're dealing with is people that are possessed and people that are possessed more than others. I don't think Epstein knew the magic. I don't think so. I don't think he knew how to like do what he did, like metaphysically. But I might be wrong. Oh, he's just somebody Satan used to create a mess, right? Well, he probably wanted something. Did he will it? Maybe so. It's just coming up that he wasn't a major player in his own life, not as much as other people. Well, I've seen him, so that means he's not in hell. He could be in purgatory, but he's not in hell, which is a sign that witches sign, which means witches did it to him. Well, essentially, they probably cursed Epstein a certain way to be that. Maybe directly, maybe indirectly, maybe something else. Right? They're mad at him for whatever. And then the young girls were cursed also, and their families were cursed. What I call curse meets curse. They created that entire mess. By the looks of Epstein, in the end, he was a deep state victim. But the the condition of Epstein is the same as the condition of Virginia in the end. So somebody did it. And they were wiping out the loose ends. So the thing that attacked Epstein metaphysically and psychologically, and the thing that attacked Virginia metaphysically and psychologically are the same thing. And it's the thing that I think, what's the other woman's name? Maxwell knows about. Maxwell knows some presence exists. I don't know what she knows, though. Right. It's Donald Trump. He's the Antichrist. No, Donald's not. Donald's not going to be with us long enough to be the Antichrist. And it's not the Antichrist, of course. I mean, he'll be with us for whatever time he's going to be here, but I think the planet's going to run out. I think Hashem beat the son of perdition and all that, but it could happen. And maybe when the planet gets sick, and nobody can live here, that they will be able to do that. But it's limited, 100 years or something of rule, and then the planet's probably finished. At the most. Right. Like I told you, this idea of the next generation is kind of weird. No, you just end it. There's other places to live. Your consciousness is stuck here. That's all you really are here. You're you're not your physical body. I've actually seen my consciousness speaking to me from the outside my body, which means what? Are we all actually here, or is this just some weirdo type of thing where we're not really here, but our consciousness is here, like in a dream state? Are you actually like this place exists and you're experiencing it, but is yourself actually like in a dream state here, where it's not really here? Right. Elon's going to develop that neurological thing to have like where you can plug something in and then like torture us. Everybody has to have an outlet where he can plug into you and reprogram you. I don't think it's going to last. I don't think the planet's going to last. And it shouldn't. It's too evil. Even if humans were killed off and no longer exist, the rest of the planet's still disgusting also. No, that's not okay. What, do you think that's in heaven? You think you grab a shotgun and shoot a partridge out of the sky? So again, this helps you understand why God can't let certain people into heaven. Oh, what are you doing? Cut their nose off to spite their face. What is that? No, it's the nose is still there. So I'm not sure where I'm moving to. I'm not in a mood for humidity. Really, I'm not. Right. It's just, I mean, it's not raining. It's just humid and muggy, and this makes it worse than. I mean, at least if it was raining, it would clean the skies. We'd have some fresh air. Right. It's about as nasty as it gets in here in Kansas City. Right. I have no idea where I'm going to live, but I got to get somewhere. I can't stay here. I'm sure there's devils everywhere, but they're pretty devilish here. Satan rules this place, man. Including their churches. Most likely their synagogues also. All right, so here this disgraceful and disgusting. The failing New York Times is peddling another disgusting sob story for a criminal illegal alien. Orvo Toro was convicted of murder. It's obviously revolting that the New York Times is actively defending convicted murders over American citizens. DHS will continue enforcing the law at full speed without apology. You can deport him, but it's saying he was deported to an African prison. You should have explained that if there's a reason. Because if he did his time here, he's not supposed to be deported to another prison. Right. Thank you. So that's what I told you to be careful about. Because you don't have a judgment and commitment order to deport him to a prison. Right. The way the things read is well, right. But again, if somebody is deported to a prison just because, again, you're saying he's a criminal, but he did his time, right? We recognize that. That's not allowed. As far as then you can't deport him to Africa if that's what they're going to do. We don't make people pay twice for the same crime. Right. Well, you have to get again. It's going to be Abrego Garcia all over again. You have to get him back and put him somewhere else, or tell them let him go. He's already did his time on the judgment and commitment order within the United States. This is what I was trying to tell you. None of those acts, the immigration acts, even the ones that they're saying you can't use, even if you used it, you're not allowed to deport him to a prison in another country. Once the deportation happens, it has to be to the idea of imprisoning somebody before deportation is that they're not allowed to be in the general public here for whatever reason, whether you agree with it or not, or whether somebody agrees with it or not. No, somebody just put him back in prison. In a country you deported them to, and that makes that country an unlawful deportation, and that country an unlawful place to deport people to. No, you're not. It's not allowed. Again, this isn't about somebody being bad or good. It's about somebody legally serving their time. And he had legal residency here to a certain degree. Again, you're deporting somebody. You're allowed to do that, but there are conditions of that deportation. Thank you. Well, you do have control because you're the deporting entity. You can't deport him to that third nation if that happens. Now you have to ask for him back and send him somewhere else, or he gets out of prison. I'm just telling you where you need to put it. Even if the court doesn't jam you on it, you're going to have issue off of it. You'll lose power because it's the more incorrect things you do, the less power you have. Now the system is corrupt in this day and age, so I don't know how fast that would happen to any of you. Thank you, Larry. So again, to do that, you would. I mean, I don't think there is a judgment. I mean, you could, if you had a judgment and commitment order for somebody to do 7 years in the United States, and you say you just want to deport him, you may get away with that person doing some time in a foreign country. Right? I mean, there's nothing in law that allows you to do it. I don't think. You can do it with a state, but I don't think you can do it with a foreign entity. But you might be able to get away with it. But this guy already did his time. Well, yeah. So if you had a judgment and commitment order for somebody to do 7 years, you deport them into a country, and so they say we'll imprison him for 7 years or 5 years or whatever they say. It still may not be legal because the judge wants you to do it in the United States so he can manage what it is. Right? So we're talking about cruel and unusual and things like that. Well, the laws of the United States are what they are. Obviously, you weren't interested in actually maintaining power in the Senate and the House with what you're all doing. But that's how you do it. 100%. Delicious. Now you can. It's that because CIA. I'm trying to tell you, CIA went through this. I think some of it was in the secret court because nobody, we didn't want to bring it out too much. I think it came out a little bit. Well, they were deporting, or they were detaining people, flying them to a third country where the third country tortured them, and that was deemed unlawful. Right. For some reason, it got shut down. I thought maybe it got decided in the a little bit more in the secret court. Well, maybe just in the secret community. I don't know. Right. Well, if he's a murderer, that you can deport him. So again, you have to get away from the idea that you're punishing people for life after they do their time because it's unlawful. They can sue you. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Well, you probably, I mean, I don't know where it's going to go in the courts, but you probably want to get them out of the prison. I mean, if they'll release him into the economy, then there's nothing that might be able to be, nothing can be said. Right. I guess I take that back. I don't know where the case is going in the future. The problem is this. If you deport a ton of people to Africa, and then there's anecdotal issues like rape, murder, oppression, assault, then the judges are going to rule that you can't do that. But there's no standing to sue that when you have the right to negotiate that. Right. The judges will not say that you don't have a right to negotiate that. Right. But if your negotiation fails, in other words, no, it wasn't true, and they were locked up and they were beat up in the streets, and even if in good faith you did that, but it turned out that they were beat up in the streets, became prostitutes, had horrendous diseases and died, or whatever it is, then you can't do it. But I'm not telling you can't deport. I mean, Canada would take some of these people, but you're not talking to Canada. Not all of them, of course, but right. So there's countries like that would probably take some of them. But I don't know, not the numbers you're probably deporting. Like when you look at the activists that you have in there, they would take the activists probably. Liberal countries will take the activists more so than just the general person. Thank you, Mary. Oh wow, they telling this guy to get off the plane or something? Oh, yeah, for you. Oh, thank you. Did you lose in there? No, but I took it over. Here you go, there you go, Mike. Get your dollar bill. There you go, bud. You're giving out dollars on a plane. You're welcome, bud. Damon Darling, I guess is his name. Somebody looks like they're. Thank you, bud. Thank you. Thank you. There we go. I can't fast forward it. There you go. Oh, you're good. Here you go. I wanted that. What? Yeah. For what? What do you mean?
It is. I agree. Thank it's you. Not something that happens. No. Yeah.
I'm not gonna look at this whole thing if it's much longer. All right, Damien, this one's too long. Losing interest. I think somebody tried to throw you off the plane, but I don't know if that's real. That's it. I'm not looking at that whole thing. That's too long. It's the Meemaw dude. Well, if you're going to, it's kind of a hybrid ruling because again we're in a very precarious time as far as judges are concerned when it comes to children that are being deported, right? And there are laws to protect them. I would say that it's too broad, and you believe that the administration should have some control over how all that works. Otherwise, they're going to game the system. Right? So the law itself is not really acceptable, but it's understood that the court might not find that far, but you believe that you should have some leeway to decide who stays and who goes. As far as children, otherwise you send your kid up here for to be raised by the United States taxpayer, and then they get school, and then they get get a job, and then you say, hey, I'm your mom and I'm your dad, and you get retirement fund, right? Right. Thank you. So again, that has to be cut off because we have to make it just work. Again, the goal is this. The goal is to fix Central and South America. Well, we want it so you don't have to come here. I want you to have the quality of life that you'll find in whatever city, actually better than you find in some cities. Again, I've said that before, and El Salvador is on its way. I just don't know if the president's a Nazi or not. Because I'm not down there. I don't know what's going on. Right. Again, I'm part of fixing all of that stuff, but I don't know if it's actually being fixed or just broken worse and covered up. Right. Well, protection from oppression is very important. Just to say somebody something without any type of trial or anything like that, I mean, that's some screwed up stuff. Right. Now, again, a lot of these people are tattooed in a way that would say yes, but some people aren't tattooed like that. Right. Well, it was a national emergency in El Salvador. There's no doubt. Right. But again, history tells us that all of a sudden the corruption fight, and I warned, and he did say something about he doesn't accept corruption from anybody, but I don't know if that's true. I don't know what his definition of corruption is. Also, you see, right. But history has told us that people that fight corruption, and in a lot of these places like Central America and South America, become corrupt. Well, they killed my life, and we couldn't get it for the last administration. Of course, they killed him, but the administration made some very poor choices, and still have in this go round. Right. Where we are now is where we should have been last administration. Right. But again, you need a little more discernment. I believe that's coming here shortly. I don't know what the financial condition of the United States is, but if you do like a $2,000 stimulus check, and then $100 for every other kid for anybody under a certain amount of money, like 100,000, right? Then you'll boost the economy. Right. Thanks, sir. Well, I was minding a lot of stuff. We were building, railways, all sorts of different things. Inside, the power came from the United States. But Central and South America were building a lot of infrastructure. Yeah, I'm sad that China, Brazil doesn't allow them to build that road. It makes no sense to me. I don't know why. Maybe you want to articulate a better deal, but a highway that goes from Brazil to Colombia is needed. Right. And what it does is it helps China distribute its products to your people. But what does it also? Yeah, you get cheaper products in the end. You get products faster. Right. I think the United States should have embraced that kind of thing. Right. And said, hey, why don't we both build it? Have you start in Colombia and have China start in Brazil or vice versa, and you meet in the middle. Right. No, these are things that we need in those nations to build a better society. And we also can track what's going on better when we improve the quality of life. When we provide, consumerism, materialism is bad. Consumerism isn't bad. Consumerism means that you have money, you buy, you eat, you have a roof over your head. Right. Materialism means that that's all that matters to you, and then you'll worship Peter Thiel when he says he's a Christian. And Peter's a fake name. Nobody can say I didn't do my job on this planet. Right. At least some sick people, I'll tell you that, whoever they work for and whoever they are. Right. Thank you, Larry. So again, I think you're gonna do best if you. I mean, you can make your argument, and then you say if the court finds that it wants to keep, this horrendous status quo, at least give us, some leeway, as we believe the Constitution would allow to manage it. So what you might end up with is this idea, like you have with the other courts, where they have to have a right to contest their removal. But again, I don't believe. What I believe is this: if Guatemala says send them, we'll take care of them. Until, again, I don't think you're any standing to say that they won't until that happens. Just the way the system's built. Well, apparently, Kristi Noem and Trump and Marco Rubio have made some sort of negotiation with the nation of Guatemala. And you have to present that in court. Right. The court will probably say, well, you have to give them the opportunity to contest the removal. Right. But I personally don't believe, just because I'm a child from Guatemala, that I get to have all these things that they're having now. I don't believe that's the law. Right. And again, I'm surprised they don't do more of the DACA type thing, where they're saying you've already agreed, and these people have already built lives. Now, if you're here illegally, you really don't. Remember, these people were kids when they came here. Right. And then, in fact, their parents, if the parents brought them, they were, they It's child abuse. Committed a crime with a child present. Right. Well, the problem is the system that developed makes it hard to fix Central and South America. In fact, if it fails, the cartels make more money. Agree. Agree. Well, I mean, you know, I don't know. Maybe they're going to be raised in a monastery. Maybe the government of Guatemala makes a deal with the Catholic Church. Well, we know we're going to put them, Your Honor. Guatemala is going to put them with the Sisters of Guatemalan Sisterhood. Right. So I don't know, but again, that's maybe some of the assurance that the court's looking for. Agreed, sir. I wonder if that other thing is available. Guess that'll get here today or tomorrow or something. Actually, tomorrow, I guess. I gotta go look at one of my deliveries. Not to fashion my new wristbands. I'm gonna have double. I have Hashem's name, right? The real name, and then I have a pentacle that has to go on there. One that bishop was found with after he passed on. They looked at his wrist and he had a pentacle, or he had it on his bracelet. I mean, a necklace, I guess. So what I'm doing is there's questions being asked metaphysically, but I can't hear them, so I'm kind of trying to wait to see if I can get whatever they were saying. Right. It'd been easier if you wouldn't have done this to my life. Right. I could have fixed my life right away. They used to have hackers working for them, like hackers. They were crooks. And then they said, well, we need hackers. And they just said, okay, you're not a crook now. Work for CIA or NSA, whoever it was. Not that I was a crook, right? It's a tortured man. Actually, if they came clean, my whole there is no record per se, but all that stuff that the agents wrote up about me would be gone, right? Because it's fraud, right? It's somebody in DHS somewhere. It looks like they carry the authority of Christy Noem. It doesn't mean it's Christy Noem, but they carry the authority of Christy Noem, and I can't hear it. Right? They know what they're supposed to do, but there's another question when I can't hear. No, the judge could leave it. I guess this one was one of them. The judge could leave it like it is, doing what you're doing, right? But again, they're going to require that they could, or no. Actually, the reverse is what I meant, right? Could leave it where you can't do anything, right? But if the judge allows you to do it, the judge is probably going to require that. Again, the law is pretty scary. I'll have to read it further, but the law looks like it was written wrong. Right. But again, she just said stop and scheduled a hearing. There are people on that plane that actually do have a right to contest their removal, I believe. Right. And that's maybe all it's going to be. I don't know what the judge is going to say. Again, what you need to do is have your plan together. Because you're going to have to say, you can't say we're just going to deport kids. They're not going to allow that. But if you can provide what work you've done, what work you're doing,
what the representation of Guatemala. See, this is where the problem is when you stick somebody in Africa and they go into a prison and they've already served their sentence in the United States. The judges are going to say, well, what about the guy in Africa? And now I'm supposed to believe that they're going to go to Guatemala and get taken care of. Right. So again, the track record is very important. I would do that. I would contact Guatemala and say, can you please provide us with how you're going to, and you can say, look, if you can say, like, one scenario I think you could probably do is contact the Catholic Church in Guatemala, and they would be raised in the Catholic Church somewhere in a foster community there or whatever it is. Right. So again, I imagine they're gonna ask that part of it, like, what are the plans for this child in Guatemala? Again, Pope Leo's here, in the spirit at least. I know he hears something from me. I just don't. I can't communicate back and forth like I could with the other guy. Right. Maybe it's just because we haven't connected yet. Yeah, he's doing some of it. He had a LGBTQ outreach. You can hate LGBTQ all you like. You can love them all you like, but it's not going to influence what I do. Well, the fact is that they're probably forgiven. Most of them are forgiven, if not all. We live in a much different world. The metaphysics change. That's part of the reason why I'm probably here or was said here. Again, I don't have to be in a body to speak to you. So part about being in a body is kind of BS. Right. And that's actually part of the ending of the planet. Like, if I weren't in a body and I was an angel and doing my work as a spiritual angel here, right, then that wouldn't be against you, right? As far as confining an angel to a body. No, this is an independent process of God, believe me. God's energy is here. Again, I knew about this stuff before I went to the Hare Krishna. So I don't know if I remember exactly how God explained it. But the idea of God's energy, like, even a scenario where there's a prostitute and drugs being used and all this craziness, a pimp, God's energy is still there, but it's not the highest form of God's energy. And it's not something God would, again, it takes a long time for God to understand any of it because it makes no sense to God. Nothing that's going on here makes any sense to God. That's part of what I do. Okay, there's different forms of God or levels of God. Now, God in the highest is that original form. You'll see that quoted in Scripture, and many of you didn't see it till I said it. Right. And in other spiritual places. So that form of God doesn't have a clue what's happening here because none of it means anything. It's just, what? What are they doing? Hey, you, go down there and see what they're doing. Tell me what they're doing. No, I'm really close to God. It's just, it's a long story. He put me in prison here. Even just being on this planet is being in prison. Right. We're trying to stop Satan on Venus. That's what I think it was. Well, Venus, like I told you, again, I didn't study it long and hard. I just don't do that. I try to just receive most of what I have from God, and then I receive it. I look it up, when Hashem tells me to look up to verify that it has existed before. But if you look, every planet has a spirit and a spiritual life. It's called the spiritual sky. So what does that actually mean? Like where Adam and Eve were, that's part of the spiritual sky. But they're not there when they're here. So the fall was pretty. And again, I understand that there are books that describe me or yeah, me and Adam and Eve. And in those books, it speaks about them being here. Could I be wrong? Yes. Does God hate me for saying what I'm saying? No. Because whatever I'm saying is going to work the magic to do what God needs to get done. Right. But again, this is what has been presented. So in the fall, Adam and Eve go like me. It happened to me, but I didn't fall because I was evil. Again, that this place tends to. Right. Oh yeah, I wanted to bring this up. There's a Hare Krishna video, and it'll upset you because it has, idols, supposed idols in there, and they're bowing to Srila Prabhupada's bowing to an idol. All right, but this guy was a gatekeeper in God's real home, theoretically. I don't believe it's God's real home. But again, a sub home, maybe a summer home. But he was a gatekeeper. He was of the Most High God. Somebody came and he didn't, like Baby Trump came, and he didn't recognize Baby Trump. So it's like this deity he didn't recognize. And that deity had the power to curse him to take a body. Now, no, I didn't get it from that because the story's not the story. The information, they want me to say story, they will. The information Hashem gave me was way prior to that when I saw that. But in that particular place, it shows that guy was cursed and he took lives as a demon here. He had a physical life on earth, but he was like a demon lord. Right. So again, it's you really can't depend on anything. Again, God will engage in the judgment from what I understand, that almost every sin is forgiven except when you're a ruling sin, like you're causing another to fall. You could be a poor person and do that. That's why I told people stay away from them ruses, because that'll send you to hell. Right. Light ruses are okay, but these psychological torture ruses, nah. God will put you in hell for that. Unreversed. Now, these people are sick. They definitely have the ability to possess a person to believe something that's not true. And they, again, there's a use for that in government, but not for what they're using it for. Right. I think I ordered suits in here. I do that return tomorrow. That lock will be here tomorrow. Oh, it's at the door. All right. Okay. I definitely shifted some of my Walmart business to Amazon. What happens is when Walmart psychologically operates me, as long as they don't lose the business of a good customer, nobody really cares. But when they start losing the business, then somebody might say something. Right. So I get pushback from Walmart when I order from Amazon because those people are stalking me. And they don't want like a coworker to say, "See, I told you so. He doesn't even come around here that much anymore. We lost his business." No, the company doesn't want to lose my business, but the operators, they don't give a shit. Right. So I haven't used it yet. I ordered an ear vacuum. I used to have it's really weird because what I didn't realize was when I would go to Walmart and buy, or any store and buy like Q-tips or something like that, they'd wheel that away. And eventually I'm not using, I used to take a little bit of alcohol on a Q-tip and put it in my ear almost every day. I guarantee my hearing would be better if I still did that every day. Right. Massage therapy, rolled that away. And they psyoped it away too. Like that's the part that your mind sometimes can't comprehend, is that every time you bought a Q-tip, they did something to you. Right. No, they'll go to hell, believe me. Tons of FBI agents in hell, believe me. No matter what they believe about their angel status. Right. So I think we discussed most of that. Just remember, a billionaire evangelist is weird. Right. Stay peaceful. Praise God. And all that you do, praise God.